Logan. We're going over some analysis of some documents today. Probably, I don't know if it was a good idea or a bad idea that we had lunch before we started analyzing this one.
Probably a bad idea.
Relax, so let me get my eyes and I'll tell you why. We'll read through this, and this is not based on a true story. This is a true story. This is an excerpt from the book called The Jungle. So we'll read, this is how long it is, so I guess we'll read this one.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like break it down and go through that if we we're not too grossed out by this one. All right, so this is The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. It was written in 1906. So there was never the least attention paid to what was cut up for sausage. There would come all the way back from Europe old sausage that had been rejected and that was moldy and white. It would be doused with borax and glycerine and dumped into the hoppers and made over again for home consumption. There would be meat that had tumbled out on the floor in the dirt and sawdust, where the workers had tramped and spit uncounted billions of consumption germs. There would be meat stored in great piles in rooms, and the water from leaky roofs would drip over it, and thousands of rats would race about on it. It was too dark in these storage places to see well, but a man could run his hand over these piles off of meat and sweep off the handfuls of the dried dung of rats. These rats were nuisances, and the packers would put poisoned bread out for them, and they would die, and then the rats, bread, and meat would go into the hoppers together. The meat would be shoveled into carts, and the man who did the shoveling would not trouble to lift out a rat even when he saw one. There were things that went into the sausage in comparison with which a poisoned rat was a tidbit. There was no place for the men to wash their hands before they ate their dinner, and so they made a practice of washing them in the water that was to be ladled into the sausage. Now there's more, but we're gonna stop right there, just to like unpack that. I'm so glad you grabbed that because I read it and I'm like, oh geez, I have it right there. So
let's start from the first.
Exactly.
From the very first. So the sausage that was rejected in Europe is coming back across the Atlantic Ocean.
Moldy and white.
Moldy and white. Now we are in Chicago.
Right.
This isn't like even in New York.
No.
So it came to probably New York Harbor.
This is a great point that you're pointing out. That
Put on a train.
Yeah, right.
Sent to Chicago.
Right.
Where it's moldy and white. And what are we going to douse it in? Borax.
And within recent years,
detergent, all-purpose household cleaner. Removes stains and neutralizes odors.
Now, in my house, we use that for washing clothes. Or on boring days, we use it to make slime.
Yeah. I'm nauseous.
Yeah.
So
but it doesn't stop there.
No. No. So we're going to clean the meat that was rejected from Europe. Then it would tumble out onto the floor.
Sure.
Where there's dirt, where there's sawdust. I guess the 5-second rule is in effect.
Yeah, totally. A 30-second rule.
Where workers have spit, chewing tobacco is very popular at this time, onto the floor.
Yep.
And now, I just can't even this is gross.
Yeah.
Leaky roofs, dripping onto the water, stored in dark places.
Rat dung.
Who likes dark, moist places? Rats.
Yes.
And a man could sweep handfuls of dried rat dung. Dung is another word
Poopy.
for poop.
That's it.
And then to kill the rats, we're leaving out poison bread. And it works. Kills the rats. And the rats, the poison, go into the mixer and all get ground up together.
Sausage surprise.
I mean,
this is just part of the book.
Can you imagine?
No.
You know,
I'm not even letting you finish
you're
answering
sitting
that
there,
No.
you're having your morning eggs, reading the newspaper, and there's excerpts of this book published in the newspaper, and you're biting into your morning sausage. Oh.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, great.
Here we
Let's
go.
see.
There were the butt ends of smoked meat and the scraps of corned beef and all the odds and ends of the wasted roots of the plants that would be dumped into old barrels in the cellar and left there. Under the system of rigid economy which the packers enforced, there were some jobs that it only paid to do once in a long time, And among these was the cleaning out of the waste barrels. Every spring they did it, and in the barrels would be dirt and rust and old nails and stale water, and cartload after cartload of it would be taken up and dumped into the hoppers with fresh meat and sent out to the public's breakfast. Some of it they would make into smoked sausage, but as the smoking took time and it was therefore expensive, they would call upon their chemistry department and preserve it with borax and color it with gelatin to make it brown. All of their sausage came out of the same bowl, but when they came to wrap it, they would stamp some of it special, and for this, they would charge 2 cents more a pound.
Oh, so like every day, the custodians come into our rooms,
Right?
and they clean our rooms,
Yep.
and they empty our garbage.
Yes, they do.
But in this particular meatpacking factory, emptying the garbage is too expensive every day.
Takes too much time.
So once a year, every spring?
Yeah.
Every spring.
Yep. Here we
Every
go.
spring.
Every spring.
We're gonna empty out these waste barrels. What is growing in them
By
after
that
a
time?
year's worth of garbage?
Mold, maggots.
I don't even want to think, and let's just dump that into the mixer, grind it all up, and we'll call it smoked sausage.
Right. Now, again, this is not based on a true story. This
It
is a true story. When you're looking, what Upton Sinclair, what he was setting out to do when he wrote this book, is that he was living with an immigrant family, and he was really trying to show you the harsh life of being an immigrant in the United States, on how hard they worked and the conditions they were working in. You know, 12, 14-hour days, living in poverty. That's what he was trying to expose, all right? So one of the quotes that goes along with this was that he aimed for the hearts of Americans, but instead he hit them in the stomach. Because people, when people were learning about this, I mean, you're grossed out. You're, you know, as Mr. Kogan says, you're eating sausage at your breakfast table. All of a sudden, you know, reading this and going, what is going on? And when something like this is going on, people are just not going to sit there and they're not going to take it at this point.
Because at this point, nobody knew how their meat ended up on their table.
Right.
How did it get there? I don't know. There's nobody cares.
Nope.
It's just here, and
That's it.
it satisfies me. But for the first time, he's exposing the disgustingness, the muck,
Yep.
if you would,
Yes.
as to what is actually happening. And hopefully the word muck brings up in your mind the term muckraker.
Right.
These journalists who are exposing corruption and unsanitary conditions.
And we see that with this political cartoon. You know, Theodore Roosevelt, you know, again, why is he raking this up? You know, again, you know, the meat scandal, referring to the what was going on in the meatpacking industry. You know, when people found out about that, he launched an investigation. You have the Capitol in the background saying that, hey, as a result of this, we're now going to have new laws.
Change.
Absolute change.
Pure Food and Drug Act. Creation of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, the Meat Inspection Act
Of 1906.
comes out along as well. That's why, like, every well, I guess this isn't food.
No,
But
anything you pretty much ingest or put on your body
yes,
is going to have.
is requires
Yep.
to say everything that is in that today. And like, look at a can of Diet Coke. Look at how many chemicals you're actually consuming in Diet Coke.
And of course, we've gone much further now. Now, any place you go to, they have to have the calories on the food.
Right.
So, you know, one good thing leads to another. And when we're looking at this photo here, just to kind of support what's going on, if you know anything about healthy and sanitary conditions where food is prepared, you could spot, you know, a dozen things wrong. These guys are handling food and they're not wearing hairnets.
Not wearing gloves.
Not wearing gloves. This is a concrete floor. It's not tile, therefore it can't be cleaned. And now you have the dust that's getting into this meat. And that, yeah, all of this going on up there. Oh my gosh. And look, you even have probably a potential fire hazard here. There's, you know, and if somebody who was trained and had a good eye, they could point out thousands of things probably wrong with this. Whether it's health and safety practices or even fire hazards, as I was just pointing out.
I would
here.
even venture to say, living in the pandemic now, but I would venture to say even before the pandemic,
Yeah.
these people would be required to wear masks.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not breathing out onto
Absolutely.
the meat that's going to be consumed by the public.
There's so much wrong here. And this probably, you know, if you were to take today's code and OSHA standards and pest standards and apply it to here, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. You'd probably see more. But, you know, certain things we bring up, you know, Upton Sinclair is, you're an example of a muckraker who's exposing this horrible stuff that's taking place that people didn't know about. He's just one of many. He writes this book, The Jungle, exposed to the details about unsanitary conditions. People learn about this, they're not going to take it, so
And change will happen.
and change happens.
Change
The
will
Pure
happen.
Food and Drug Act and the Meat Inspection Act. I'm sorry. And now everything has to have an ingredient that goes into your body.
I'm gonna go throw up now.
Ah, yeah. All right.
Enjoy your lunch, guys.
Yeah. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.